The whole purpose of this is to make it easy for people to stay in touch with their customers and really kind of create a personal bond with their customers in a world where everything's transacted over the internet.
Welcome to Honest eCommerce, where we're dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running an online business does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. If you're struggling with scaling your sales, Electric Eye is here to help. To apply to work with us, visit electriceye.io/connect to learn more. Now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest eCommerce. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and today we welcome to the show David Wachs. David Wachs is the founder of Handwrytten. He's also built and sold a previous business, and he's going to tell us all about that today on the show. Welcome to the show, David.
So happy to be here, Chase. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I am familiar with your current venture, which is really funny, but for those that aren't familiar, so give them a quick, what does Handwrytten do?
Yeah, so the whole idea of Handwrytten is to make sending handwritten notes as easy as sending emails. In today's day, and actually if we get into my background, we can talk more about it because this is where it all plays in. But in today's day and age of digital overload, everybody's getting hundreds of emails a day and dozens of text messages and Twitter tweets and Facebook posts and intercom and Slack and all the rest. What really stands out is old-fashioned handwritten communication, not mass-produced junk mail, but handwritten notes. And so after exiting my last company, which was actually in the text messaging space, I thought, there must be a way to automate handwritten notes. And that's what we've set out to do 6 years ago. We're doing our best to accomplish that now. So the way it works is we are a true platform, meaning you don't have to visit our website. You could download our app for iPhone or Android or plug into Zapier, which a lot of Shopify people do. And I'm happy to talk about that because I know you have a lot of Shopify listeners. However you want to engage with us, we've got a way to do it. And then when you do connect on the front end via one of our technology platforms, you submit your orders, and then on the back end, we have more technology to write your orders. We've got robots, currently about 95 robots. Each robot holds a real ballpoint pen. They're actually Pilot G2 ballpoint pens. You can pick them up at Staples. And those robots write out your handwritten notes in the handwriting style of your choice on the cardstock of your choice, and then we mail it for you. We write out the envelope, we put a real stamp on there, and we send it on its way. In addition to the handwritten notes, we can include gift cards, business cards, coupons, stickers, other small items that fit in a normal envelope. And now we are actually doing some bigger fulfillment as well on kind of a one-off basis. So we're doing books and that type of thing with a handwritten note. That's kind of us in a nutshell. We're doing about 120,000 handwritten notes a month right now, and growing, just trying to keep up with it.
That's amazing. Just especially having the robot army doing it for you. So to you, it's every day you walk into work and there's robots working for you. But let's kind of get into that real quick. So you build a business, you're sending out handwritten notes to customers on their behalf, and you built a technology powered by robots, 95 of them, as you said, to write these for you. That's insane.
Yes, we started off very small with a different brand of handwriting machine called an auto pen, which has kind of been around since the 60s or 70s. And what we found is those machines just didn't, they didn't create nice enough handwriting. It didn't look realistic. It looked okay, but it looked kind of off. It didn't pass kind of the uncanny divide test or whatever they're called, the uncanny valley test, where the more you try to make something look authentic, the less authentic it looks. And those machines really didn't pass that. So we weren't happy with it. We also weren't happy with the scalability. They were very slow machines. Our new robots are slow too, but these were worse, and they couldn't, we could only have so many of them. The company selling them would only sell us so many, and you needed a computer for every 4 machines. It just became impossible. So necessity creates, is the mother of invention. So I said, well, the heck with it. I'm going to design my own robot. And that's what we did. So our robot is actually faster, cheaper to manufacture for us. And I can get into how we manufacture them. We do not sell them. We just use them internally, but they're autonomous. They don't need to be connected to a computer. They actually send out Slack notifications to us when they're low on paper, low on ink, paper jam, whatever. And yeah, they're pretty cool. They're, we call them robots, but they're little Linux computers with writing arms and conveyor belts and everything else. And really, it's kind of the conveyor belts and the paper feed system that sets us apart. There are a few other handwriting vendors out there, very few, but a few other that actually use robotically written handwritten notes. And what they haven't mastered is the throughput of having a paper feed and a conveyor or whatever to move that paper along. What they're basically doing is just using a 3D printer and replacing the print nozzle with a pen and then writing, but then you have to move that paper out of the way and put a new piece of paper down. And that's a very laborious process. So for instance, we had a competitor, Bond, that was doing this. They got a lot of kind of accolades, and then they got shuttered because they couldn't scale. And we've been good at doing this and scaling and growing. And each worker here can control about 25 robots. It's because they're so autonomous.
Let's talk about that a bit. So you took the time and the effort to kind of focus on building up your product, which I feel like a lot of our listeners are doing that currently, trying to differentiate themselves from their competitors, and kind of find that edge where either you've got the edge on your margin or you've got the edge on your quality. Like, what's going to help you kind of stand out with your competition?
Yeah. Like I said before, I actually started a text messaging company before this. We did millions of texts a day for major brands like Abercrombie and Fitch and Toys R Us and all these big brands. This company is way more complicated, like several orders of magnitude more complicated. Because on the robot side, we've got technology, obviously electromechanical technology to move the robot around and software to do that. But then we've also designed our own writing engine to actually write out these notes, because you can't use fonts. We could get into a whole conversation about why you can't use fonts, but in a nutshell, a font is an outline, and it's if we were to draw out fonts, you'd end up with a bunch of bubble characters. So what we did was we generated our own writing engine that creates the most realistic handwriting out there. It adds variation. It handles ligature combinations. So put two O's together, two T's together, two L's together, whatever, and make it look realistic. And, quite frankly, I stare at this handwriting every day, and I can obviously tell some of it is robot written. But if you give any of our notes to anybody and you say, hey, did you enjoy the handwritten note I sent you? They'll say, yeah, thank you very much. If you give it to them and you say, was this written by a robot? Maybe they have a 50% chance of guessing if it is written by a robot. That said, there are certain handwriting styles, like we have some people that work with us and we recreate their handwriting for them. And those, because I don't stare at them every day, even to me, and I see them rattling off the machines, I can't tell they're written by a robot. They're so good. We replicate their signatures and stuff like that. The end result is so realistic. You would absolutely never know it's written by a robot.
Go ahead. I'll tell you.
No, I was just going to say, the whole purpose of this is to make it easy for people to stay in touch with their customers and really kind of create a personal bond with their customers in a world where everything's transacted over the internet. And so our goal is to make you not realize that you're sending robot written notes. Our goal is to just help you connect with your customer. So people use, for instance, Zapier and our platform to send handwritten notes to customers on their first sale, welcoming to their Shopify store, after their 10th sale, thanking them for their repeat business, or after they hit a certain sales threshold. So like if your total value is over $100, send them a handwritten note, whatever it is. So really the robots are there. They're super cool. They're designed out of 3D printed parts, and we actually laser cut parts. And we've turned into quite the manufacturing system here. But the whole point of these robots is to try to get out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want anybody to know that you sent them a robot note. We want people to think you sent them a real note. That's our goal. And I think we've done a pretty good job at it.
I mean, I can agree. I've gotten notes from you before. We've used to send notes to our clients actually using your service, and I thought it was wonderful. Let's talk about the economics of it though. So I'm sure it's a sliding scale upon volume and all that stuff. But like what's a handwritten note going to cost me?
Yeah, for sure. So starting out, if you go on our website and you send one handwritten note, it's $3.25. That includes the card, so the thank you stationery, or you can go online and upload your own image, your own logo, that type of thing. We'll print that card out and then we'll write on top of it. We'll then put in a high caliber envelope. We've really upgraded our stationery in the past 6 months or so. So we'll put that in a high quality envelope, write on that envelope, put a real stamp on it, and mail it for $3.25 plus postage. So domestic postage is 55 cents. So your all-in cost is $3.80. Now, that said, we have discounts that are available starting at, I believe, online at about 25 cards. We've just recently changed it. But if you're planning on doing high volumes, you can prepay for orders and get a pretty great discount as well. So if you prepay for 500, you get a 20% discount. If you prepay for 1,000, 25% discount, all the way up to 50% discount if you prepay for 50,000. So, and we do have clients sending out 50,000 notes. So it's really just depends on, the volumes you're pushing.
Yes. If you're going to think about that sounds a little bit pricey. Let's think about the cost of acquisition on a customer. You're paying, tens of dollars to get them in. And if you're using a solution like this, all you're going to do is increase the lifetime value of that customer if you do it in a right way. Obviously, a thank you note is going to be received well. But if you play into that thank you note with maybe some sort of upsell or value the client to return to the site and make another purchase, then it's not an expense anymore. It's just an investment in that lifetime value, and it's going to pay for itself over time. And I'm sure that's where a lot of the successful e-commerce brands using your service and your software, that's where they're finding wins, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people try to compare us to junk mail, and we can never be as cheap as junk mail. It's impossible because, for one, junk mail, all it is a laser printed piece, and we need to take that laser printed piece and write on it. You know what I mean? So at the very minimum, we're going to be more expensive than junk because junk could potentially, we'd never recommend it, but that could be the cost, the input, the thing that we write on. So we're always, by definition, going to be more expensive than that. On top of that, we're going to be, we're not going to want to print on junk. We're going to want to print on a nice piece of stationery with a nice thick envelope. And then we're not going to put a bulk mail stamp on it. We're going to put a real forever stamp on it. So the stamp alone costs 55 cents. Forget about all the inputs into it. That said, the solution works. You get what you pay for. This $3.25 piece has a 300% greater open rate than printed envelopes. If you just look at envelopes, response rates are 20 to 50% higher on average than print pieces. You could see meeting requests triple if you're trying to book meetings, if that's your game. We have a large online suit company where you can go on, provide your measurements, and they'll, make suits for you. They sent out thousands of gift card coupons, and they had a 17% redemption rate through their handwritten note campaign, and the return on investment was over 300%. Additional kind of uses you might not think of. We very rarely mention client names because nobody wants to be known as sending phony handwritten notes. But we have one client that's fine with it, Vinyl, VNYL. They're an online record subscription. And when they send out these handwritten notes with their records that people, get every month, those handwritten notes, not only do they drive loyalty, they also drive virility because people take pictures of the handwritten notes, post them to Instagram and Twitter, and then other people, see how cool they are and that the ink smudges and all that. And it really drives kind of this viral effect surrounding brand recognition. So that's another real big benefit too. But I mean, we have clients that improve their customer retention by over 10% just by including a handwritten note with their purchases. The positive effects just go on and on.
Let's be honest today. all of your customers are going to have questions. And what are you doing to manage all those questions? Do you have a help desk for your business? One of our sponsors of today's episode is Gorgias, and Gorgias is the #1 rated help desk for e-commerce. It integrates seamlessly with Shopify. We have installed it on a bunch of stores. It's also used by brands like Movement and Rothy's. And what it does is it takes all of your customer insights and information, brings it into one amazing dashboard so you can solve their problem as quickly as possible. If you want to give Gorgias a try, visit gorgias.link/honest. That's GORGIAS.LINK/HONEST to get your second month free. So let's talk about, now that I'm a big nerd and now I want to know some things, like if we were going to use this for a client, is there some sort of delay built into the software where it's like, because I'm assuming if you're going to send out a note with the first purchase, you don't want the first purchase to show up before the note or after the note, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like, do you set up the delays within Zapier? Do you do that within the app?
You could do it either way. So within Handwrytten and or the Handwrytten Zap, you can put in a send date, and then we'll just hold off on sending that until the send date. Or you could just use, how adept at Zapier everybody is, but you can add an intermediate Zap called delays by Zapier, and you could just say, wait 3 days, then do this. So it's super easy. It takes about an extra 30 seconds to set that up in Zapier. Then you do have the quote unquote benefit of the post office taking their sweet time to deliver things. From Phoenix, Arizona, where we're based, it could take anywhere from 2 to 4 days, 2 to 5 business days to deliver that handwritten note. So you are gaining a little time there. And then also each handwritten note does take us, up to 5 minutes to write out and then stuff and stamp. So we have a 1-day turnaround there too. So that handwritten note, it could take 3 to 6 business days to get there from when you send it on our system. But if you wanted to go a little later than that, just go into Zapier and add a delay there.
Absolutely. And then, you mentioned a few before, people using this for targeted marketing campaigns, either for like redemptions or for thank yous when they're hitting a certain threshold, perhaps like a VIP level thing.
Right.
Are there any other use cases that people are using in e-commerce, or just out campaigns that you've seen go out that are outside of the box that you thought were interesting and worth noting here on the podcast?
Yeah, for sure. So a big one these days is requests for reviews. Now, I know Amazon's kind of clamping down on this, but people are doing, if your Shopify store has a review area, why not send out a handwritten note saying, if you love our product, go on our Shopify store and submit a review. Or we have restaurants and house painters and stuff like that send out requests for reviews on Yelp. So that is a big area for us. We also have a lot of sorry for your bad experience type notes that go out. Sometimes they include a gift card or a small gift provided by the brand. And one client, which is an office snacking company, so they'll outfit your office with a month's supply of snacks. They found that if they had a client that had a bad experience, such as receiving the wrong box, and then they follow up with a correct box and a handwritten note, that client actually has increased loyalty over someone that didn't have a bad experience. Now, I'm not claiming the handwritten note had everything to do with that. I think the free extra swag probably did, but it certainly doesn't hurt. So kind of following up on bad experiences is a good use. We have a car manufacturer that if you call into the main car's call center, not the auto dealer, but the actual, if you go all the way up to the top and call into the car manufacturer's call center, they will automatically follow up with a handwritten note powered by us. And that handwritten note could have, it could either say, we're so happy we were able to solve this issue, or we're so sorry that this issue remains outstanding, but we're working on it, something like that. So wherever we can kind of add a touch point, people are finding creative ways to do it. For luxury brands, we actually write out these handwritten notes, totally personalized, and then we send them back to the luxury brand's fulfillment center where they're shrink wrapped and inserted with catalogs. So imagine getting your fall designer catalog. And in that catalog is a handwritten note directly to you with your name in it. That's the type of stuff they're doing. We're also helping the same luxury brand with birthday thank yous and thank you for coming into the store. So a lot of retailers with physical presences want to send handwritten note follow-up after a purchase, but if they leave this to their store clerks, it never gets done. They're too busy dealing with the next client or cleaning the store or, whatever they need to do on a daily basis, and they can't get around to the critical task of sending out thank you notes to their clients. So we just automate it for them, take that off their plate. It looks just as good, if not better. And then corporate has control over the messaging in those notes.
That's fantastic. I've actually, for the longest time, anyone that actually listens to this podcast more than once, they'll realize that I worked at a tattoo shop for about 10 years. I worked there 10 years ago. I worked there for 5 years. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm old. So one of the tasks that the artist had there was after the first time someone would come to the shop, like send a handwritten note. The boss was super adamant about that. People are lazy. It kind of go by the wayside, but
yep.
The boss was very, very diligent about it, and it helped him build a very loyal little fan base for the shop. And it's a great place for artists to work. Now, I'm gonna show him this after this thing, and he's probably gonna get blown away by it. And you might see me reach out after this to talk about it. But just in the realm of automation, if you can dream it and you can understand a process for it and why it should happen, you can probably do it with this software. Zapier can let you do anything, but also even above and beyond that, it's just thinking about how can you play it with a marketing message that's going to help
you
just give value to your customers, either by just giving them, well wishes or by incentivizing them to return, giving them coupon codes, gift cards, just added value.
So, for instance, we have, and I'm trying to think of different examples, people are like, who are your clients? And it's like, anybody that sends a handwritten note, which could be totally anybody. But we have a solar panel installing company based in Louisiana that is just killing it. After every sales appointment, it's odd, it goes into their CRM system, and then they dump those into us at the end of the day or whatever, or week or whatever it is. And we're sending out 800 handwritten notes for them a day, just thanking their appointment, for their appointments and that type of thing. So I don't know how many states they're in to drive 800 appointments every day. But yeah, they've been doing this for 2 years plus now. So clearly they see some huge value in it. Unfortunately, they never share that with us. But, if it's been growing, and it's been growing very steadily over that time. So a lot of people are seeing that, I don't open 3/4 of my print mail when I get it. And I don't open 90% of my emails when I get it, because I know it's all just junk. But if you get one of these in the mail, there's a much higher likelihood you're going to open it. And what's cool about handwritten notes is not only are they opened, but they're kept. They literally stand up on your desk. So unless it's a flat card, which is, your choice. But these notes literally stand up on your desk and they stand out. And people do keep them. And we send out a bunch of sample requests to people, samples to people saying, try our service, that type of thing. And they'll hold on to those and then call us like 4 months later or 6 months later saying, yeah, I've had your handwritten note on our desk for 6 months and I'm finally getting around to it. And I think that's really powerful, because if it was any other sort of print brochure, I can't imagine they'd hold on to it that long. But these notes really do kind of physically stand out.
Well, it's that, and not everybody's doing it. Not everyone's, just taking the time to set up a system within their business to run this. Obviously Handwrytten's a great service, but if you're a small shop and you're not doing that much business, you could do this yourself. An intern could do this. It's a great way to have another touch point with your customers.
Yep.
And then when it scales up to the point where you do need another hand, David over here has got 95 robot hands he can help you with.
Exactly.
David, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast today. Is there anything else that you think is worth sharing with our listeners today?
We are kind of running a special on signature replication. I don't know if anybody wants to add their own signature, but if they just contact at handwrytten.com, and that's handwrytten.com, and say they want a signature. Typically they're $250, but we're doing them for $150. The promotion technically ended, but I will extend it to your listeners. And then also, if you just go to our website, sign up and use the sign up code podcast, we'll give you $5 in free credit to try out the service. So you can't sign up, unfortunately, with Facebook or Google, but if you sign up and create a Handwrytten account and use the code podcast, you'll get $5 in credit.
Awesome. That's a great deal. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chase. Super excited to be here.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their journey and knowledge with us today. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our businesses. Links and more information will be available in the show notes as well. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, feel free to reach out and learn more at electriceye.io/connect. Also, make sure you subscribe and leave an amazing review. Thank you.